Okay, YouTube, we'll see how this turns out. This is a kind of it's a currently video because I don't have a way to get this on the computer, but this is a kind of a rough idea of a junkyard Deltic by Charger Miles, and I'm just kind of throwing ideas, in the pot. So basically, you use 3 V6 engines, the 60-degree ones, not the 90s, and you put them together in this triangle pattern here, and in between each of the heads you would have to build some sort of, I guess you would call it a combustion chamber, because the piston is going to rise to the top on both engines. They're timed together like down here, so when you're in your compression stroke they both squeeze together, and like right here when you're on your intake stroke, they pull apart, and there's a spark plug in this, and so it would have a ton of compression. They would also be, and I know that this is not how they really are on the engines, but just for the purposes of this drawing, 2 crankshafts in these V6s, so you would have to chain all those together and get the correct timing so they would run together. Or you could put a belt, but I prefer chains when it comes to automotive engines, even though they wear out. This head right here would probably be made out of some sort of maybe steel plate, pretty thick. I would say at least 3/4 of an inch, at least. I would probably go even bigger than that. And I would want it, me personally, without doing any numbers, just guessing, I would want it a little bit wider than my spark plug, but not so big that it's going to ignite the gas. I don't even know if a gas will ignite like a diesel, like diesel fuel with compression, but I would do the numbers to figure that out because of the compression ratio of having 2 pistons, because that's twice the volume going into the same size of what a normal combustion chamber is. And so, anyway, but this Deltic would run the oil pans is another problem, so oil delivery. So this engine would be pretty straightforward because it's facing the correct way, so the oiling system would be about the same. Once again, I've maybe worked on this an hour. This engine up here, and this engine, I left this one original to show you what it would look like. This one I thought maybe for at least oil collection, you could make a modified pan, and that wouldn't be very hard. Pans are just, most of them are just sheet metal with a drain plug, a little bit more than sheet metal, but anyhow, make it come down so the oil has somewhere to drain after it's delivered to the crankshaft bearings, crankshaft lifters. The lifters are up here. Never mind. But anyway, after it's all the bearings and lubricates the piston and the connecting rod and all that good stuff, maybe it would drain back here and you would have another oil pump. I would think that each engine would probably have its own oil pump, but you could have some external unit that oils everything and collects it. As far as intake goes, all these lines would show where the intake would have to be. It's on the, if you're looking at a regular engine, I believe, and I'm not that great, my car is a 4 inline, so this is not my area of expertise, but I believe the intakes are on the inside here, and the exhaust might be 2. But if it's that way, because I worked on an 8 at shop class, a V8, the intake manifold is kind of like that. It just has a place for all 4 pipes, and the carb mounts up here. And if I would do that, I would take the existing intake manifold, mount it, it would mount right here, and then I'll have another one here and here, and then build some sort of connector, maybe cut the manifolds and weld on some sort of connector to come to a large carb, or possibly have a carb for each engine, or if I really wanted to go, what I would like to do would have like a high performance engine which have a carb for each cylinder. Being that this is a V6, it would have 6 rows, and there's 3 engines, so 6 times 3 is 20, no, excuse me, 18, I think. Yes, 18. Sorry, a long time since I have to do math. So, 18 cylinders, but it would, you have to use the 2 pistons together because these are not acting as 2 separate chambers. These are all timed together. at least if that's how I understand. And this is kind of a view of maybe what the heads would look like, and I know this is on paper and probably looks horrible, but have plate, pipes, your bolts. I'm not sure, depending on your engine, I guess the bolts could, just like in a smaller engine, the head bolts could screw in, or you could have studs and have nuts. I've seen it both ways, and that would just depend on your engine. And yeah, so I like this idea. I wish I had the money to do this. I certainly have the space and time, but not the money. So if anyone has any other ideas on this junkyard Deltic engine, please post videos. I would love to see it. So yeah, thanks. And I don't think there's anything I missed. This is the engine, what it might look like, what you're using, compression, intake, and the heads. So yeah.